Welcome everybody to the Casual Football Friend Show with me, Zane.
And me, Taryn.
It always feels like there's a little bit of a delay there, like you suddenly realise that we do that at the beginning of every episode. Like, we do that literally at the beginning of every episode, and you still hesitate and go, oh yeah, me, Taryn. Like, you don't know that's coming.
I'm not used to introductions, so yeah, you should see me when I meet people. I just get straight into conversation. No hellos or anything.
You'll be unbearable. You just go up to them, start talking to them about football, be like, yeah, so did you see about the Man City case?
And they're like, who are you?
Yeah, so yeah, please don't talk to me. Please leave me alone. But I was about to say, we have a lot to get through this episode, and it's late, which is always a good mix of things. It always feels like it's when there's lots to talk about. It's the episodes where it's like we don't have that much time, and we're just going to have to try and ram it all in.
I mean, we've got loads to talk about, and then next week we're going to have nothing to talk about because it's the international break again.
Oh, yeah.
So it's one extreme to the other.
Yeah, that was a miserable episode. Like, I don't know if you rewatched the one from last time when we had the international break. It was
I think, because the problem is, because we like football, but if we're going to be honest, and I think this goes to a lot of football fans, we're more into club football. That's what it is. We're more into that. We like the season. We like to watch our club and everything because it's more regular. We only really care about international football when it comes to the Euros
tournaments,
or you know, or the World Cup, and the qualifiers, and then the Nations League.
I get excited for international football when there's like an element of new to it. So you know when they brought in like a new player. So like last time they brought in Angel Gomez. And I was like, I'm interested to see how
he works in that system. And in England had their new manager, Carsley. So, it was interesting to see what he was going to do.
Yeah.
But we've seen it now.
We've seen it now. I'm interested to see how he does now, because it's a game against Greece, I believe. So, 2004 European champions. You never know what they can pull out of the bag.
All that pedigree.
I mean, it's better than what we've got. We've literally never won not won the Euros. So
no, we've not. We've never won it. We've got to the final twice. That's about it. This Sunday we've got England playing Finland. That's about it.
Didn't they already play Finland? I swear that already happened. Wasn't it Republic of Ireland and Finland last time?
No, we're playing them again.
We're playing them again? Are you sure?
I'm sure. I would never lie about such a thing. October the 13th, on Sunday, we are playing away to Finland.
Do you mind, because obviously if I check, then a bunch of things will go wrong.
Oh,
do you mind checking who we played last time?
Look, can you see?
I see Gibraltar. England, Finland, yeah. No, but go back one. Go back one game week. Like, go back one set of fixtures. Who did England play last? Ireland.
Oh, I can't. Yeah, we played Republic of Ireland then. Yeah.
And also who? Like, there was two teams. Who was the other one?
Oh my God! You're making me do this. Okay, let me have a look. England Nations League. What?
Who's in the group? Who else is in the group? Basically,
we got Greece on Thursday.
Right.
But who was we played Finland before we did, but we were at home. Now we're playing them away.
Right. So how many teams are in a group in the Nations League? Is there only 4 teams?
Yeah. That's a bizarre thing to have 4 teams in a group.
Yeah, I know, but in international football, it's because in every other international qualifying stage, there's like 20 teams in the group. So obviously, I thought the Nations League is the same.
Does the Nations League count? It counts as a qualifier, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is. Technically, you are qualifying for a tournament. Yes.
I don't know. But enough about that. Let's get to the real football now.
Yeah, okay, look, we are like 2-3 minutes in and we've covered the international break.
We've covered it. All you need to know, we've done it.
We never have to mention it again. Good luck, Lee Carsley. Do you know what, though? I did see, not to jump too ahead, but I've got a good clickmates related to the international stuff. So if we can put a pin in that one and remind ourselves for later, because I'm not going to...
we'll bear that in mind.
We'll try and bear that in mind. Just remind me I have a clickmates to do with international football.
Yeah, but...
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Crowd...
So, where are we beginning, Zane?
Audience, if you can please remind us too. Just anyway. So, let's talk about the Premier League.
The Premier League.
Why we actually came here. So, we had Here's a question: do you want to start on the Premier League or do you want to start on last week's Champions League? Because I feel like last week's Champions League makes more sense.
Let's kick start with the Champions League because there was some
crazy
great results for English football in the Champions League. Great results for the Premier League as a representation of it. I mean, if we kick start on last Tuesday's games, Arsenal won 2-0 against PSG, and Arsenal were fantastic.
Yeah, it was pretty convincing. I'm not like I watched the whole game thinking, this is pretty standard. And made it look really routine, didn't they?
They did, and it was like it showed. You know how we say there's levels between like the lower half, between the Championship and the Premier League, and then there's levels between the lower half of the Premier League and you say the top six. What Arsenal showed, there's actually levels between the Premier League and League One in the French league.
Yeah,
it's
interesting.
I mean, PSG. I mean, let's not sleep on them. They're a great team, but Arsenal were just, that Saka's second goal. I watched that and I was like, that was such a clever goal. How Arsenal did it. It's like the way it was because Saka scored. It was a Saka goal from a free kick, but those of you who saw it, the Arsenal players were like on the other side, and then they just kind of ran past the PSG defence. Kind of like a distraction.
Yeah, they have.
And it was brilliant.
They have a lot of repertoire when it comes to set pieces. Arsenal, like that's kind of their main source of goals this last season and this season, and it's interesting to see that kind of being done in Europe as well. Because I felt like I don't know if you remember the Arsenal versus Bayern Munich game last season. Like there was an element of like a damp squib to their attack. I found in the second game, especially when they needed to score, and I was like, I can't see where the goal was coming from. Whereas now I'm like,
they just couldn't do it.
Now I'm like, if they just get a corner, they could probably score. Like they're looking really decent from set pieces.
I mean, it's kind of like a message out to every team out there that if you're playing Arsenal, just don't try your hardest not to give them a set piece.
Yeah,
because
even a corner.
They are the best team. Try not to lose a corner to them. Try not to give away a free kick to them because they are probably one of or maybe the best team when it comes to set pieces right now.
I think they're the best. Yeah,
brilliant.
I think they are just hands down the best. We might be the worst, or one of the worst.
Oh yeah. We're on the other side of the spectrum. We're one of the worst when it comes to it.
Yeah, just because obviously, we are the casual football friend show, but we're fundamentally a Leicester fan based podcast, and to relate everything back to us, Tuesday night in the Champions League somehow still links back to us.
Yes, we're relating Arsenal and PSG back to us.
Yeah, of course we are. Because we're selfish. We're selfish people. But yeah, back to Arsenal PSG. I thought they looked very impressive. Again, they're at home, and PSG are sons of Mbappe at the moment, and it's it's kind of like a new look PSG is essentially what we've got now. We've got their main threat being like Barcola, and when. The thing is, he's still very young, and obviously Mbappe was also young, but Mbappe was just that good that he could reliably get you a hat-trick out of nowhere. It's interesting to see, where they come from, where they go now, basically, where they build on.
Yeah, I mean, Mbappe, also, he did have time to develop in that PSG side. And it's, if we go back a few seasons ago, they had probably on paper the best team in Europe at one point. PSG did. Never won the Champions League. I think their biggest opportunity to win the Champions League is now gone. I don't see PSG winning it this season.
No.
But it shows that when you take a player like Mbappe out of that squad, it's quite difficult to fill that void. And PSG, they've got good players, but it's just they're not. They need that threat, and but I think. Yeah, they'll still do all right, I guess.
I can see them getting to semis again. To be honest with you, but it's hard to see them going all the way, especially without a talismanic player like Mbappe to lead the way, because that's ultimately what those sorts of players get you. Is they're the ones who get you over the line in the big matches, albeit they didn't win the Champions League up to this point, but they've come mightily close quite a few times now.
Oh,
and
they've come very close.
I know. Not winning the Champions League is kind of like a stick you can beat certain teams with, but at the same time, when you look at who's won the Champions League over the last 10 years, it's either been Real Madrid or an English team. No one else or one team. It's all Bayern Munich that won the COVID season. But that's kind of been it. And that's because, England is just that dominant and Real Madrid are just that dominant. They just know how to get it done. So I think
it's the usual suspects really that tend to do the rounds of winning it. So it's nice to see when a new team does come in and win, which we don't seem to see that often nowadays. Well, I suppose Man City were the newest team to win it.
They will be,
but Man City, but it was expected that they will eventually win the Champions League.
Would you agree, right? With Man City, would you agree that them only winning one Champions League under 9 years of Pep is like when you compare it like that? It's kind of underwhelming. I don't know. Because Pep, I feel like, was brought in... Because they were already winning titles, and I feel like Pep was brought in to get them over the line in the Champions League as well. And they've dominated completely at a local... at domestic level. But there is an argument that one Champions League just isn't quite enough, considering the players that they have and the resources they've had.
I suppose when you look at it, they've been in two finals. This Pep's Champions League, Pep's Man City. They've been in two Champions League finals. Yeah. They lost one to Chelsea, giving Chelsea their second ever Champions League.
Yeah.
And then they won not the last Champions League, but they won it before that. So it's if it was Leicester, I'd be like, I would take this all day.
Yeah, but we're not. It's not the same scale. It's not the same scale. I think when you've got a team which has had the resources or has the resources of Man City, I feel like, as you said, there is an air of inevitability that they will win it eventually. I'm just I'm surprised that it took this. Not necessarily took this long, but when in the grand scheme of things, in the grand scheme of Pep, in the grand scheme of since the Abu Dhabi group came in, which was back in 2008. One Champions League is kind of underwhelming, I think. Considering when you look at
because when you look at your return on investments with that, because I suppose this, when the Qataris came in, Sheikh Mansour, which I love that name.
Yeah, so Man City are the Abu Dhabi guys, PSG are Qataris, and Newcastle are the Saudis.
They're just coming over here, taking our football clubs. But
I was genuinely prepared for you to say something that was going to get us cancelled there. I was like, Darren's about to say something racist.
I was very close there. I was like, are you going to say this joke? Make it good.
I was going to say, I was so close to being like, edit this bit out. Just edit the whole thing. It's not worth the joke. He's going to try and make a joke out of this. It's not going to be funny. It's going to be very bad for all of us. Just edit it out.
You saw my face. You knew what was going to happen.
I knew what was happening. I could see it a mile away because I was like, I'm having to correct him here on which type of Arab it is. So I know he's already ignorant. So
play my ignorance. To the point. I suppose when you look at it, they took over in 2008, and their plan was not just to win the Premier League. They obviously wanted to win everything domestically, but every time when you take over a top club, I think a lot of these investors, when they do it, their aim is you want that Champions League medal. You want it, and for quite a few seasons, Man City they were getting close. They made there was a few semi-finals here and there. They had a final and they lost it, and then it was like you kind of thought. Part of you thought, are they ever going to get over the line? But then part of you thought, well, it's only going to happen at some point. At some point, it's going to happen. And I suppose I can see where you're coming from. It's like with the investment they've put in, with the depth of squads that they've had. Since 2008, and literally it's not like they just started. Let's just build. They just literally bang. Let's spend some money, get some players in.
Yeah,
you kind of expected a little bit. I can see where you're coming from. Where you did expect, okay, we really since 2008, Man City should have maybe 2 or 3 Champions Leagues now.
Yeah,
it's just one after all that time, but it's football. It's one of those things.
There's a lot of variables that go into it. I just think, especially in the Pep era, where they've been so dominant, because they've been so dominant at a domestic level, I think the idea, like Liverpool won the Champions League once, got to 2 finals on either side of the win.
Yeah.
So again, and losing to Madrid both times. I guess Madrid are the the X factor here in why Man City haven't been as successful, because Madrid have been so dominant that, and they just seem to have this kinship with the Champions League. Like, it's their competition to dominate.
Yeah. I mean, they've won it more times than anybody else.
Like, more than double. It's crazy. They've won it, 16 times now? 15 times?
I think when it comes to that point, it's probably not special to them anymore. But
no one's going to catch them, ever. Like, no one is ever going to be able to catch them, because they would literally have to... I think the next after Real Madrid is 7, which is AC Milan. And that's less than double. Like, no one's going to catch them. Milan are not going to catch them anytime soon. Liverpool aren't going to catch them. Nobody is. Nobody's going to catch Real Madrid.
No, and it's it's just they've always been it's been very kind to them, the Champions League. But but I think one of those things is just, I think that's when you can kind of weigh it up. Klopp and Pep, when people used to so who's the better manager, Klopp or Pep? If you look at I can see where the argument is for why Klopp could be argued to be better, because he developed that Liverpool squad and he built them up, and he didn't have the resources that Pep had with that Man City. So he was literally just building that squad. Okay, then they missed out on a couple of Premier Leagues, but then they won the Premier League, and he's got them to 3 Champions League finals, and they won one of them. Granted, it was against an English club, but he won one of them.
Granted, it was against Spurs specifically, which I feel...
I know. It's like, you might as well already put their name on the trophy.
Yeah. I felt like that going in. I was like, there's no chance Spurs are going to win this.
Yeah, exactly. But it was one of those, it's like, so they can kind of weigh it up like, well, Klopp, with the resources he had, got Liverpool to 3 Champions League finals. Pep, with the resources he's got, has got Man City to 2. So it's like, when you look at Champions League, well, actually, Liverpool have done better than Klopp did better than Pep at Liverpool compared to Man City. Obviously, overall, Pep's done better in the Champions League than Klopp has, because he did it with Barcelona and so on.
Yeah.
But when you come at like team for team, there is an argument for that. But I mean, I can't see Man City not getting to, say, the semi-final of the World Cup, the Champions League this season. I can't see Man City not getting to the semi-final. That'd be bizarre if they didn't.
Yeah, it'd be a huge upset.
Yeah, but then it's like, we don't know how this format is going to work with some certain teams' favours. How it's not going to work. It's like, this format could actually work against certain teams if, like, because it used to be like, if you could finish second in the group and still win the Champions League.
Yeah.
When Man United won it, back in the day, 1999, against Bayern Munich, they actually finished second in the group. And then they actually went on to win it. But it's, but you can't do that now. If you finish in that playoff spot, you might not get through. So it's every point, every goal now counts for this Champions League format.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm still very confused as to like the stakes, because I don't know if it makes it easier or makes it harder because of 6 teams going through and 6 teams in the playoff. In my head, I'm like, well, that's 12 places, like out of a league table of I don't even know 24. It can't be that hard to not qualify. You know what I mean? Like to qualify.
It just makes it more confusing.
For your average person like me and you, yeah. I feel like for your managers and stuff, they probably would have done the maths well in advance, but,
Oh, they already know what the plan is.
Yeah.
We're just looking at it on the outside going, why? But I've seen a lot of people that... I posted it on my Insta thread, and which somehow came up on Facebook as well. I said, so what does everybody think of the new Champions League format? And I got a lot of comments on my Insta threads, just basically saying it's confusing.
Racism. You got lots and lots of racism. You just got lots and lots of unwarranted racism.
Oh yeah, when I sifted through the racism, what I got, like, I'll stick to cricket and all that. When I got through all that, but I got a lot of people.
Idiots should be good at maths. How can you not work this out?
Yeah, you should already know this. Surely you've done the maths. But when I've sifted through the hate, a lot of people just said, "Oh, this is just basically them doing the Super League."
Yeah,
this is just them doing the Super League and just putting a little Champions League cloak over it.
It is.
And it's
it is.
Well, you can kind of see that.
It is though, because they they win it. One, they extended the spots in the league to 5 teams now qualifying. If you get like a high enough coefficient, basically meaning that in the best leagues, it's very unlikely that the best teams or like the biggest teams won't qualify. It's very hard not to qualify.
Exactly.
If you have 5 places in to qualify from, that's literally a quarter of the league, by the way.
I know. It's a quarter of the Premier League could be in the Champions League every
How
season.
absurd is that? Like, that is an absurd thing to think of. If the Champions League,
it is bad.
A quarter of the league get to play in it. Like, that's not the Champions anymore, is it?
I know, and it makes it unfair because it used to be that the top 2 in the Premier League would guarantee qualification, and then the third and fourth, you have to then qualify. You've now qualified to try and qualify for the Champions League. And sometimes teams didn't get through it.
Yeah.
I remember Newcastle, when they finished third, they didn't qualify for the Champions League because they messed up their qualification against Atletico Madrid.
Everton lost to Villarreal. I remember that one in the qualifying when they came fourth in 04-05. They lost to Villarreal in the season afterwards. So lots of teams have done it, but it's usually disproportionately it's always the teams that you wouldn't expect to get into the Champions League that end up in those kinds of fixtures. Whereas United used to get teams like I remember they play like, "Here, you get to play Karabag." It's like,
I know. It's best of luck, Man United. I'm sure you'll swan your way through to this one. But what that does, it adds a little bit of jeopardy to the Champions League. There's no guarantees that you'll go to. Just because you finish third or fourth doesn't mean you're guaranteed to get into the Champions League. And it's just, but it's now that jeopardy's gone. We know we're going to have 4 or 5 teams going into the Champions League. We know it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, the usual suspects are going to be in there. And it's just, it kind of takes that little spirit out of it a little bit. It's just, and turning it into a league format, I don't know any fans who are asking for it. I mean, probably a lot of corporate people were asking for it, but I don't know any fans who are asking for it. But, hopefully they'll see the error of their ways. In a couple of seasons' time, we'll just go back to the original format.
Or they put in another league format after this league format.
You qualify for the next league!
Just make it laborious as hell for everybody. Do you know, we were talking about this last week when the Champions League used to have 2 group stages, and I remember saying, like, what a terrible, terrible idea. I used to hate that game's FIFA. I used to hate FIFA that year, because honestly, playing in 2 Champions League group stages was the worst. It was terrible.
It did long it out.
Yeah, it was awful.
Longed it out.
I remember just being so confused as a child because I think I played like that FIFA a season after because I got it on you get it late as a kid, don't you? Sometimes.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, this isn't like real life. Well, why are there two league phases? That doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. But if we go back to the actual results.
Yeah, let's go back.
We can go on this tangent for ages.
A 20-minute.
I mean, we look at the results. Look at the results we had. Brest won.
Did you see? You're not the first person to make that joke. Even not the first, but you're the only person to make that joke. Because that was like a clip going around of Michael Richards doing that same one. So you're all as immature as each other, and I'm sure you feel like you're in esteemed company. Well done to all of you.
Me and Michael Richards are Brest.
Yeah, I know. I'm because you see Thierry Henry's reaction. He's just like, oh yeah, and I feel like I'm your Thierry Henry in this situation. I'm like,
okay, let's get this. Let's clear this out. We're not comparing. Like, we're going to do football comparisons. I'm not Michael Richards, and you're definitely not Thierry Henry.
We're talking about in this specific situation regarding Brest.
Oh, right, okay. I thought like if we were going to.
Not in terms of our.
How dare you make yourself an Arsenal legend who's won the Premier League and so on, and I'm Michael Richards.
Hey man, you've become very popular over these last few years. Like, if anything,
outside of football,
if anything, Michael Richards' career aligns to what you want to be in the future. Like in terms of media. Yeah.
I mean, could you imagine me and Michael Richards were in a room? Could you imagine how loud that room would be?
You're both such massive guys. Like there'd be no space to move around.
We're both just laughing at our own jokes.
Yeah, you guys would be unbearable.
Did you watch Brest?
I don't think I could put up with that. Like, I think if we were on like a panel show with him and you two, I would just walk out and be like, "You keep your money. I'm done. I don't need to deal with this. You got Darren. You're good."
But other than Brest winning, Barcelona beat some young boys 5-0.
Nice. I was going to say, as an Asian father, you must be proud.
It's good he gave those young boys a good thrashing. You know?
It teaches them discipline.
About bloody time. But yeah, and then not a good day for some German teams. Not a good day for Scottish teams though.
No, oh my God, Celtic. What happened there?
Jesus.
I know Dortmund are good.
I know it's against Borussia Dortmund, and Borussia and Dortmund are a class team.
Yeah.
But Jesus Christ.
What happened there? Like 7-1. Was it 7-1 or 7-0?
It was 7-1, because Dortmund went ahead, and then Celtic literally equalised straight away and thought, all right, game on. This is gonna be a cracker. And then
but it wasn't.
They just collapsed.
Yeah.
And it's like, poor Brendan Rodgers, and it really hurt because they got Kasper Schmeichel in goal.
Yeah.
And it really hurt to see that happen to Kasper.
Yeah, that's actually a good point, actually, because Kasper, you don't want to see anything bad happen to Kasper. That's horrible, actually.
I know, yeah, because he is a Leicester legend. So to see that happen to him, it's like, oh no, couldn't they have played another keeper?
Do you not have a kid keeper? You could put it in the goal and then blame the kid keeper when things go to shit. 7-1 though, man. 7-1 is really bad. Like I know it's Borussia Dortmund, and I know the Scottish League isn't of the highest caliber compared to the German League, but come the fuck on, like. That's
it comes back to the point I was saying. It shows the different levels in the leagues.
Yeah.
Like, it shows that Celtic, they won the Scottish Premier League. Yeah, well done. But then when you're coming up against Borussia Dortmund, who are in the German League, in the Bundesliga, it shows you might win the Scottish League, but you're not at that level.
And do you know what? They came fifth in the Bundesliga. They didn't come in the top four.
Exactly. They got in. They got to final of the Champions League.
They got into this season's Champions League because Germany got the fifth spot, if I'm not mistaken, or one of the fifth spots. So
thanks to the new format, they got in.
Yeah, because of the new format, Celtic got thrashed. But still.
Yeah, but it shows that. So Borussia Dortmund finished fifth in the Bundesliga last season. So, you think, you're not playing the champions of the Bundesliga. But it shows that's the level. And the German league is so much higher than the Scottish league. And it's just... like Celtic's going to be well done for taking part.
Yeah, unfortunately for them. Did you see that, talking about the champions of the Bundesliga, Leverkusen beat Milan, which I think is quite a big result for Leverkusen. Good for them.
Leverkusen are a good team.
Xabi Alonso, he stuck it out. I'm actually quite happy to see Xabi Alonso still there, because I know he was linked with a lot of teams towards like the midpoint of last season when they were on the unbeaten run, and obviously it was like Liverpool were in for him, Madrid were like, we're waiting for you. So it's cool to see him go, I'm going to stick with my guns and stick to Leverkusen and see them in another season of the Champions League before he probably leaves. Because, you see this a lot. I feel like, Bologna is a good example. So Thiago Motta got Bologna to fourth in Serie A, and then Juventus poached him. And now Bologna lost, they lost to Liverpool the other day, but that's not why they lost, by the way. But it's like, you feel like there's unfinished business there when the manager or like a key component of the players leave, and then they're not along for like the Champions League ride. Because I feel like when a team like that qualifies for the Champions League, it's quite like a big deal. It's like when Leicester qualified for the Champions League and they lost Kante. It's like, obviously I understand why he left and, why he should have left. But there is a part of me which was like, you were part of getting us there. So you want him to be part of like the Champions League journey. But in terms of...
You need all the components there to really, they got you there.
You feel like because they got you there, you want to see them enjoy the ride as well. Not just call it quits, get off the roller coaster and then let you carry on. But I feel like with Leverkusen and, Xabi Alonso again, it's good to see, and I'm sure he'll end up, regardless, he'll end up getting a really big job.
Oh yeah, I think he's not going to be at Leverkusen for many more seasons, but it's good to see him there, and they got the win, which is good. Yeah. And they'll do pretty well. Leverkusen, they'll do pretty well in this Champions League. I can't see them like going out in this league stage.
Well, they got to the final. They got to the final of the Europa Conference League last season. Was it the Conference League or was it the Europa League? I get confused between the two.
last time I saw Leverkusen in the final of the Champions League, was going back to when Real Madrid, when Zidane scored that goal.
Yeah,
and that's gone back many years.
That's like 2001, 2002. That was an incredible goal. That
mate, one of the best goals ever.
Yeah, and that's like, it's a shame that's what Leverkusen is most famous for in the Champions League. Is a goal against them. But anyway, the other big result I feel like we should mention is Aston Villa beating Bayern Munich, which I think is very, very impressive.
I mean, we could briefly mention Man City won 4-0. Okay, well done there. But yeah, Aston Villa.
Yeah.
What a game! What a game! It's and the commentators were going on saying like it was like a repeat of when Aston Villa actually won the European Cup against Bayern Munich.
82, 84 or something. They were saying like it's been exactly 40 years since that last time, or it was something along those lines. I don't know why I mentioned this and not actually know the full facts, but this is the casual football friends. We're not the perfectly informed football friends, okay, Dad?
But there's a reason why we have casual in there.
Exactly.
But it's and they had a goal disallowed as well. Aston Villa did. It was a great result for Aston Villa, and then. We've actually been saying this throughout this podcast that Aston Villa are now classed as a top side, and they showed it against Bayern Munich. Not that Bayern Munich didn't have their chances, came close quite a few times.
But expect that they will. Like the thing is that every top team will have chances. Like that's just part of the game. You have enough quality players. You have a Musiala, you have a Kane, you have
we don't have Bayern Munich side.
They will get chances.
Jesus, it's like. Yeah,
they will. Imagine that goal by Duran. Like, what a chip! It came out of nowhere, didn't it?
Yeah, it was great vision though, because he saw the keeper was off his line. Let's just have a go.
Imagine going home and being like, I chipped Manuel Neuer. Like, imagine just being able to tell that story. Like, I chipped one of the best goalkeepers of all time, who is famous for like being the best sweeper keeper of all time, and I chipped him. Yeah, that's amazing.
Chipped Neuer. Of all players, Neuer.
All the players.
Yeah. And it's like Bayern Munich had a strong side out. I mean, that was the other Kane. They had Gnabry playing. Musiala was on the bench, but he came on. It's like, they had a strong team they took with them. It's just, but Aston Villa, they got the job done. That's what it is. They did what they needed to do.
I feel
and
like
that was the most enjoyable result to see.
I was going to say, I feel like then the day after we ended up getting. And obviously, me and you were at my gig at this time, so we didn't get to watch it live.
It was.
But I went home, watched the highlights, and was like, which was the Manchester United Porto game, which ended 3-3. United going 2-0 up in the first half, and then in the same first half, Porto pegged them back 2-2, and then in the second half, they went 3-2 up, Porto. And then United scored in the last minute to equalise and make it 3-3. If that's not a football manager scoreline where you would go, no, this game is rigged. Like you would call that bullshit. And
it was a bit of Fergie time involved in there, but it was
it speaks to the defensive issues that they're having.
That kind of just epitomises United's season so far. It's just they can't. And just putting Don't sleep on Porto. They're a good team, but it's like they're not this force they once were like many seasons ago. It's just that just epitomises United right now. That even in the Europa League, they seem average. And then they go 2-0 up, and then they concede 2 in the same half. It's just that just screams United right now. I mean, they could have easily lost that game, and that's just how they are so far. It's just. And I think if you're a United fan, you can't be happy with what's happening over there.
No.
I mean, we talked about it last week, and it's just like we've been saying it every week in, week out. Like United, something needs to change. There's definitely something wrong at that club. I mean, I see them as just at the moment. I can't see them qualifying for even the Europa League next season. It's just depressing. Actually, I say depressing. Depressing for a United fan. As a person who grew up with Glory Boy United fans as friends, this is brilliant to watch. But it's just, it's like I said, it just epitomises them as a club right now.
Yeah, I think you look at the way in which they capitulate in games, and it just brings up so many questions as to like what exactly the plan is here. And we harped on about it last week when we were talking about like there's no strategy to what Ten Hag is doing.
Yeah, as soon as United concede, they don't know what to do. They don't actually know. They could be. I was here. They were 2-0 up. They conceded. Oh, what do we do now?
Yeah.
Well, you play out the win. You close off the game. But it's like they didn't know what to do.
Yeah, it's almost like immaturity is the best way to put it. I think is they don't have the maturity in the team to be able to see off a 2-0 lead in Portugal. Even though it's an early lead, I feel like a team like that, a team of that size, should be able to see it off. You wouldn't see Man City doing that. You wouldn't see Liverpool doing that. I don't think, or Arsenal. So
if Man City go up 2-0 in the 20th minute, like Man United did here, that's it. It's game over.
Yeah, it ends up being 5 rather than it ends up getting pegged back. But I feel like mentioning both United and Villa kind of crescendos quite nicely into the weekend's results.
The weekend's results.
Yeah, yes. Now that we're on the Premier League, you're like hastily checking what happened on the weekend on your phone.
Yes, we've had a quick look. Well, we got the big news. We've got to mention the big news.
Leicester finally won. Yeah, Leicester finally won. Oh my god!
Yes, finally! At last it happened. Oh my god, we nearly fucked it up.
Yeah, but do you know what? What sweet relief of just. Nothing compares to that first win where the cards are down. It looks like everything's quite pessimistic. To finally get that win, it's kind of like when you're talking about wind. It's kind of like when you really need to burp and you can't get one out. It's like you finally
got it out.
You finally let it out, and it's just you can breathe easy. And I feel like that's what's happened with Leicester right now. Is they finally got the win. They saw it over the line, albeit it was shaky at times. Like we kept the clean sheet, but Bournemouth had a lot of chances.
They did. They came very close on numerous occasions.
Dango hit the bar, the crossbar. That one time.
They scored a goal which we thought was a goal from a free kick, but it was offside because it came off of another player.
The other player hit the Zabani, I think, the centre back. He hit the outside post and then it went out. He beat Hermanson for that one. So there were a lot of chances Bournemouth had that they could easily have pegged us back. But you know what? Sometimes the luck is on your side. And
Leicester had the luck on their side.
Yeah.
And you know what? And in true Leicester fashion, we get into winning form before the international break.
Yeah. So no chance to carry over that momentum, But what I am pleased to see... Okay, so two things kind of stood out for me in that game. I think Skip and Okoli were really impressive. I think
brilliant.
Okoli was
great.
Immense.
That's been his best game so far.
Yeah,
that's been his best game this season.
He was so good, and Skip I thought was really, really good. Like genuinely watching him the other day, I was like, this is a good money spent actually, because I was watching him obviously running his ass off everywhere and getting around and making the tackles, and I'm thinking to myself, this guy's he's got an engine. It's good to see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're starting to see the players now. They're starting to we've found our shape, which is good. And Benanate, oh my god,
yeah, what a player! This guy's very clearly destined for a much better team than us or Brighton.
He should not be at Leicester, but we're glad we got him. Thank God he's here, and we're not letting him go.
What a player! Let's talk about that. That goal he scored was like prime Mahrez, right? That cutting in again, beats the defender again, and then left foot boots it into the top of the net. And I'm like, wow, that was special.
That was good. It was good to see, and it's good to see a little. We were saying one thing we've been moaning about with Leicester this season is there's no fight in the team. That there's no spirit to actually to actually push and actually try and win a game. But we actually saw it in this one. They actually they wanted to. Yeah, there's obviously room for improvement, but there was a little bit of spirit where they were like, no, we can get this win. Let's push it over the line, and they got there.
I thought, to be honest, it was a good continuation of what we saw in Arsenal, where obviously we showed the fight. and it's just obviously they're just that much better than us that eventually we went down. But I felt like the game against Bournemouth is like, okay, they have attacking players, but they're not going to be able to overwhelm us. And we didn't let them. We played pretty decent stuff. The defence overall, even though Bournemouth had a lot of chances, even though it was a lot of close calls, I think were pretty solid. And, it was, it was satisfying to watch, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think it's spot on there. I mean, against Arsenal, we did well to come back, but at the end of the day, their quality was too much and overwhelmed us in the end. Yeah. Which is no shame in it, but we were saying that we saw that spirit, that that fighting spirit to actually come back in there.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing it like, okay, Bournemouth are the teams that we need to get points off. These are the teams this is why we were so disappointed with the Everton game.
Yeah.
Because that was a game where we should have tried to get that win.
Yeah. The teams around you are the ones you have to beat at home. Those are the games which keep you up, essentially. And we have this game. It's basically a run of 4 games. We have this game against Bournemouth. We have the game against Southampton, the game against Forest, and the game against Ipswich. The 4 games as a whole. Obviously, it's great being like, oh yeah, we need to win all 4. That's it's probably not going to happen. But you hope that we can at least get 9 points from that, and that can.
And there's no reason why we can't. I mean, maybe the toughest team we'll face there is Forest. Out of there,
Forest, because it's a derby, and because it's because they are in pretty decent form. But then, I don't know. I feel like because we're at home, it gives us the advantage in the sense that you raise your game against your rivals, don't you? And I feel like
it gives us that little edge.
With Forest, we'll probably do that. I'm worried about Southampton away because. For them, for them, that would be their equivalent of the Bournemouth game for us, where it's like, come on lads, we have to win this one, and we're at home, and it's against the team around us, and also they're looking for revenge for the fucking 6-0 that obviously back in May time. So there's that on the cards as well.
We seem to we either lose to Southampton or we give them a right spanking.
Yeah.
That's actually what it is. There's no tight game where we beat them. It's either we lose or we thrash them. Hopefully it's the latter this time.
Was the game at the St Mary's last season, was that 3-1 or 3-2? I can't remember, but I know we did the double over them last season, but I don't remember what the scoreline was in Southampton, but I think it was 3-1. But again, they weren't at it at that point, and then it's only after a little bit of time they built up the momentum, and then we beat them again at the end of the season. But regardless, there is a part of me which is we've been riding our luck against Southampton, as in we got the results last season, therefore this season, I don't know. There's too much superstition in football.
There's no guarantees. I mean, Southampton, they're fighting relegation, so they're going to be up for it. And they're looking at they'll look at Leicester saying, "Yeah, we can beat Leicester."
They'll 100% be saying that. They'll be saying, "We have to win this game. We can beat Leicester. We've been messing up against the bigger teams, but we have to beat Leicester at home." So I'm worried about that.
I mean, if the positions were swapped, we'd be saying exactly the same thing.
We did.
Okay, we lost all these teams. We're second from bottom. But we got to beat Southampton. We got to beat them. We'd be saying the exact same thing.
We did against Everton, against Bournemouth. We've been saying the same thing. So I think they're going to be doing. It'll be the same that way around as well. Moving on to the rest of the Premier League games. I think the highlight game for me was the Brighton Spurs game, because I felt like. Okay, so let's talk about the first game on Super Sunday first. So we had Manchester United, Aston Villa Manchester United, which was genuinely I felt like it was 2 hours of my life wasted. It was
a huge snooze fest from how amazing Aston Villa were against Bayern Munich.
Yeah,
and
it was a hangover. It was a hangover game. It was a hangover game. You could tell they were all tired.
Aston Villa just kind of dropped to United's level, and they just played a little boring game together. It's there was nothing really exciting that happened in that game. But it's not a great result for either team, but it's not a bad result for either team either. It's just, I mean, what it does do though, we're only 2 points off United. We're one position behind them.
Yeah, I know.
How mad is that? That's what I was saying to you. If we win the next game, and some results go our way, we could go to 12th.
Yeah, well, it's still very early days. It's just it's baffling to see United that low down. Honestly, at this point, we're nearly in November. Okay, we're well into October now, right? Like next time we play, because of the international break, we'll be easily past the midway point in October, and United are 14th, and I think that is just baffling. But
it's insane to think that.
But Aston Villa Man United wasn't great, but then we ended up getting Brighton Spurs, which was amazing.
Oh yeah, that was probably the game of the weekend. I mean, a few Brentford fans would say Brentford versus Wolves was the game of the weekend, where they won 5-3, which was insane.
Yeah,
but Wolves, it's just all going wrong for them this season so far.
Yeah. Also, it didn't have the same level of jeopardy because Brentford were dominating that game and Wolves happened to score 3, whereas the Brighton-Spurs game, Brighton were 2-0 down and managed to win 3-2, and I think that is so impressive. Welbeck scored again. I was quite chuffed to see him score. I'm always happy when he scores.
Well, Welbeck's having a great season at Brighton, and it's just... it kind of was like Tottenham.
Yeah, it was proper Tottenham.
Just kind of, it's just such a Tottenham kind of thing to happen.
Especially after beating United 3-0 away, you're like, oh, okay, maybe Spurs have turned around the corner, and then they do that, and I'm like, oh, Spurs, what is this shit?
Exactly. It's such a Spurs thing. You beat United at Old Trafford 3-0, then you go and lose 3-2 to Brighton from being 2-0 up. Such a Spurs thing to happen.
So Ange Postecoglou came out afterwards, and he said, this is the worst result in my tenure, and I'm like... Oh, buddy.
Bloody hell. Yeah. Mate, you've got a long ride ahead of you. This is the worst.
You say that. I mean, Spurs fans, some of them were calling for his head. With results like that, I don't know if he will stick around for that much longer.
I mean, no. I think it's way too soon to say that so far. I mean, he's had one season there and he did okay.
He did alright, yeah. I felt like they should have finished.
A bit higher. It happens.
Yeah.
It happens. Like, you go 2-0 up and you lose 3-2. It happens.
Not that often. It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen in that fashion where they were quite comfortably 2-0. And I mean, okay, United did the same thing on Thursday, so I say it shouldn't happen that often. It literally happened twice in 3 days, but still.
Well, it's like the same thing we were saying about United. If you're 2-0 up, if you've got enough quality in your side, regardless if you're playing away, you should be able to see that game off.
Yeah.
If you've got enough and if you go on paper, Tottenham have a lot more quality in their squad than Brighton.
You think?
So if you look at it man for man,
I don't know Tottenham anymore.
No, they have the quality. The tactics are quite off. It's like Man United. They've got the quality. The tactics I don't know what the tactics are.
It's interesting because Spurs and Brighton play. When you look at it, they play quite similar styles. They're very, very attacking teams. High lines at the back, so they're quite easy to get in behind in. I don't know. I find it.
Yeah.
Spurs are just quite an interesting team. I don't know about them being better than Brighton necessarily, though, man for man.
Well, what I'd say about Spurs, it's never a dull moment.
No. But you know what? That is the characteristic you associate with Spurs as long as I remember them. They've never been a winning team, but they've always been an entertaining team. And I think that's ultimately Spurs' philosophy.
You never see a boring game with them.
No, and that's quite, you're not going to get too many 0-0s in the season. And I think for Spurs, you'd rather have that than, I guess, drawing most of your matches, but at the same time, losing in that fashion is so disheartening because, we all know when you surrender a lead like that, when you squander a lead like that, it's just there's nothing worse in football than having a comeback on you. Yeah,
it is demoralising, to see that happen, and it's just, they'll come back from it, but it's just for Brighton, it's a great result. It's great for them. Great for Welbeck.
Yeah, great for Welbeck. The most important takeaway is that it's great for Danny Welbeck.
It's great for Danny Welbeck. He was the real hero this weekend.
He was the real
Danny Welbeck.
Just to brush over, because I know I was going to say, because I know people will mention that we haven't mentioned their teams. I don't think that many people listen to this. But,
well, you know.
Okay,
we can run through them then, if you want to.
Let's run through them, do a quick overview. So, yeah, Liverpool won 1-0 at Palace. I'd say that was one of the more boring games of the... I don't know if you watched that one. Wasn't that interesting?
Expected.
Arsenal won 3-1 against Southampton. They went 1-0 down, but came back. It became quite rudimentary. Not the hardest game for them, but they did rotate a little bit after the Champions League.
But Arsenal, see, that's where Arsenal show their class. You know, like, look, what happened to Tottenham against Brighton was kind of similar-ish to what happened in the Leicester-Arsenal game. Like, Arsenal were 2-0 up, then Leicester made it 2-2. But then Arsenal just kind of, like, they didn't panic, they didn't, give in, they just went, all right, let's just push on, and then they won 4-2 in the end. Yeah. You know? And then, whereas Tottenham, 2-0 up, they suddenly concede, and it just all goes to shit.
Yeah, just completely shut themselves, I'd say Brighton, in their defence, Brighton are a better team than we are, but...
They are a better team than us, yes. I mean, granted that Arsenal had a weaker opposition to do it to, but they still had to do it.
Yeah, much blunter attack is what I'm trying to get at. Like, Brighton's attack is a lot more, I'd say, effective than Leicester's attack. So, you know, naturally they're gonna, when they're on the front foot, they're gonna have more pressure going forward than when, say, Leicester did it against Arsenal, where it was kind of hit them on the counter attack at the very best, but most of the time you're just defending.
To be fair, that's all we hoped for in that game.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was what it is. Brentford 5-3 against Wolves, as we just talked about. I think, you know, when you think about it, Wolves, like, scoring 3 away from home and still losing is quite impressive. I think.
But then they conceded 5. It's just Wolves. It's just when I watch them, I watched them against Liverpool.
Yeah,
they don't play bad.
No,
it's just they can't seem to get a result.
It's just they can't play good.
They can't play good. That's what it is. It's like when I watched them against Liverpool, they lost 2-1, but it's not like Liverpool were doing well. Obviously, they have the better, you know, possession stats and everything. They weren't like playing Wolves off the park.
Yeah,
you know, Wolves are like they'll still putting in some like good crosses. They'll still play some good football. It's just they can't seem to get a result in their favour. It's just one of those things.
They're now so they're still winless, of course, and I think they've still only just got 1 point, and it's now
just 1 point.
This many games into the season. I think this is where it starts to get worrying. Like, this is like Brendan Rodgers in the season we got relegated kind of form. If you recall that, it feels like that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, when you get to this point in, like, you know, it's still early days, but when it's this, like, 7 games in and you haven't got a win yet, then you've got to start asking questions like, okay, what is going wrong? Is it the manager?
It's not just not winning, though. It's only having 1 point. Like, I think
1 point,
that is, you know, because that means you're not even drawing. You're literally just losing. Yeah, most of they've drawn 1 game, have lost all the rest. That's pretty dreadful. You've got Man City beat Fulham 3-2. That had a little bit of jeopardy for City. Fulham did go ahead in that game, but then obviously City went and just did a City on them. And West Ham beat Ipswich 4-1, which was West Ham's, I believe, their second win of the season, because they've not been in the best of form. But Ipswich... No,
but now it's like West Ham now, what they've done, they've got their second win. They've started to now... They started to kickstart now their season. Sometimes some teams their season kind of starts a little bit later, like in terms of actually getting their momentum going. But West Ham now they've got their second win. They've kickstarted, and we're hoping that with Leicester now that we've got our first win.
Yeah.
Hopefully now we can kickstart. Sometimes that's just how it works.
Yeah, you'd rather that than, you know, start off really, really well and then peter off, and then it's really difficult for a long time. You'd rather those kind of gradually build into the season, don't you?
Well, that's what happened with us with a few seasons with Brendan Rodgers. Remember, we would start off the season so well, where we'd be third and stuff like that. We'd be like, oh my God, we're going to get Champions League football. And then as the later part of the season came in, we'd start to lose games. We'd start getting complacent. You know, it's kind of what do you want? Do you want to have a good start and a bad finish, or a bad start and a good finish? You know, it's just one of those.
I think you'd rather have the latter, because the most important games are the ones towards the end of the year. And if you can put together a run sort of late February, March onwards, you're going to end up in a really good place, I think.
Well, that's what we did to look at Leicester again. That's what we did the season before we won the Premier League.
Yeah, to stay up.
We had an incredible run of games at the end of that season, of the 2015 season. And then that led us through to the 2016 season where we won the Premier League.
Yeah, 100%. The final game of that weekend, of the game week, is Everton 0, Newcastle 0. Anthony Gordon missing a penalty at his old club. It was actually one of those typical penalties where he's clearly had way too much time to think about it. Like we was watching that going, he's gonna miss this. There's been way too long between. Why has he waited so long? But I was like, I don't think he's waited long. I think the referee has been delaying the restart. And then Pickford made the save. So yeah, Everton got another point. Newcastle probably ruining their chances.
Yeah, I mean, you expect better from Newcastle in that. Expect better from them. But it's just one of the. That's another point for Everton. Yeah, there you go.
I was going to say,
they might survive.
Not a huge amount to talk about in that game. I guess that brings us nicely into the next section. So we should probably you said that like you don't know what the next section is. You were like, oh, go on, then present me with the next section. I don't know what it is.
Is it the lightning round?
Should we introduce some kind of lightning round? I don't know what that would be.
We'll have to figure out one kind of lightning round to just bring in there.
We could do one where you actually get hit by lightning. That'd be cool. I'd like to see that.
But that's a bit left field, but okay, we can try.
I don't think that was left field at all. I feel like that was pretty coherent with the conversation that we were having. But anyway, so we have news now that Man City have won an initial case against the Premier League in terms of the PSR ruling. So basically, people are like, oh, is it going to be all 115 that they've won? It's not all 115. It's this very one specific rule where in terms of affiliated sponsorships, so if the people who own your club also own other companies, and then they get those companies to sponsor your club. At the moment, the rules are that the Premier League has an independent board that has to judge that rule to see whether it was fair, and they do that according to looking at their own database, which is comprised of similar sort of rules. So the burden of proof at the moment is on the club trying to push through that sponsorship deal to be this is why it's a fair deal. Whereas Man City have successfully argued that the burden of proof shouldn't be on the club. What they've also done is basically said that it's not. It's they've also included the interest-free loans that a owner can give to the club. They've also argued, I believe, in favour of that, so that it can happen more often. I'm not 100% on that side of things, but I know basically it's very minor rule changes which specifically relate to one article of the PSR rules. So it's not they've won all 115 charges. It's just this one aspect. But what it does do, it brings into question whether they might just win the whole thing if they're basically starting off by winning. Leicester have won their case. It's can the Premier League actually win a court case?
I think the Premier League need to look at who their legal team is.
So is it Nick DeMarco? Is it the guy who won? I'm pretty sure they hired the guy who won the case for Leicester.
You'll get him this time.
Yeah.
It was great for Leicester that we won our case.
Yeah.
But we didn't have as many charges as Man City do.
We had the one, we had the one, and it's just
and we managed to get out of it. But it's just, I mean, the Premier League. If you're going to put all these charges on a team, which a lot of people were saying okay, Man City have cheated, that we wanted to be proven that they cheated. You've got to get your defence team in order to be able to prove all this.
Yeah, and also a case that has been maybe 10, 15 years in the making because they've been collecting evidence for a very, very long time. I'm not going to lie, you'd think it'd be stronger, wouldn't you? You'd think that they would have more of an argument. I appreciate Man City have endless resources and they can buy the best lawyers money can buy, but at a certain point, you know when the case is so strong against someone, and I'm not going to get into individuals here, especially on the football podcast, but you know when, like, the case is so strong against someone that they've blatantly done it, so no matter how rich they are, they aren't able to, like, you know, get out of it. You'd hope that would be the case with Man City if they actually did this stuff.
I mean, yeah, that's like you said. That they've been this case has been building up for years. It's not like I would say Leicester's was like just a couple of years. They tried to build up a case and then they didn't manage to pull through against Leicester. This one with Man City, they were talking about this like 5-6 seasons ago. Yeah, about these these charges. They were talking about it like Man City might get done and all this type of stuff. You should have a case.
Yeah,
but built like your evidence should be there. You should be able to prove what Man City have done wrong, and then you fumble at the first one.
I obviously, and this goes without saying, and this like really hones in on why we're casuals here, because we're not just casual football fans, we're casual legal case fans, in the sense that
we're casual on everything. We're casual when it comes to legal, casual when it comes to medicine, casual when it comes to the opposite sex. We're casual at everything.
Casual when it comes to medicine. What do you mean by that? Like.
We're brown. People might think we know about medicine, but we don't know shit.
Okay, cool. I thought you maybe were just like, yeah, look, some vaccines we take, some we don't.
Yeah, but some will take, some I don't.
Yeah. But anyway, we don't know anything when it comes to law. Let's be honest. Like, we don't know anything. Yeah. So for all we know, they actually did like basically everything we just said they should have done, and they still fucked it.
Yeah.
In which case, you know, them's the breaks.
You know what? I think with the Premier League, that's probably the most likely thing that happened.
I think it did,
they probably had everything there. They did all the research, and they just fucked it still.
Yeah,
I can imagine that's what happened.
Well, you know, ultimately everything gets it gets put into a court of their peers or a court of law, and in this case, it's I believe it was like a bunch of ex-Supreme Court judges who are on a panel. So, you know, these are people who know what they're talking about, especially when it comes to legal loopholes and regulation.
Yeah.
And ultimately, not every charge that Man City will beat is I don't know how to phrase this properly, is a bad charge, if you know what I mean. Like, there are going to be some cases where we might look at them winning and go, actually, that's a good thing for football. Do you know what I mean? So, like, in terms of this sponsorship thing, right? Like, I'm not necessarily in favor of people inflating sponsorship deals from allied companies, but if they basically fought the rules to the point where they allowed owners to invest in their teams more than they are currently allowed, I would be in favor of that. And so I think for me, it's not like all 115 charges are going to be, you know, dead on Man City are the bad guys, and some of them they might actually be in favor of things that we want to see. I don't know. I don't know what each of the 115 charges are, but you know, like this rule, I feel like Leicester could benefit from. To be honest, I feel like most of the teams in the Premier League could benefit from. In fact, they were talking about the teams that abstained from it. So Man City had the support of obviously the ones you'd expect, so like Chelsea, Newcastle, Everton, and then there were a number of clubs who were on the Premier League side and basically put in a testimonial as to why the Premier League should win, and that obviously included like Arsenal, Chelsea, Man United. I think it was Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, but like teams like Leicester, it's like, you know, anything to kind of widen the margins of what the PSR bottom line is. I think that might actually be beneficial for teams like us. So you never know. Could have a good knock-on effect.
You never know. Yeah, we might start seeing some. We're going to see some rule changes coming for the Premier League. We're definitely going to see that.
Yeah, 100%.
That's going to happen. But it'll be interesting. We all want to see what the outcome of the Man City case is going to be. It's probably going to be the biggest case in Premier League history, what they're doing.
I think so.
But it's I mean, I don't know how long it's going to go on for.
It'll be a while. Well, put it this way: if you consider each of the charges as an individual case,
Jesus.
If you rationalize it like that, and I don't know if some of them can be grouped together, but if you rationalize it as each charge is an individual case, this could take years, and
Well, you never know. They might do a case a year. So in 115 years, we'll be done. We'll have our answer.
But at that point, the Kingdom of Abu Dhabi will be in charge of this country anyway. So what's the?
Yep, we'll look at our Abu Dhabi overlords.
Be like, yep, fair play.
And
We can do no wrong. Well, we'll be dead, I think. We'll be dead by that point.
Yeah.
We're not going
We'll be dead, but our grandchildren will all be driving Lamborghinis.
I don't think
I'll be in charge.
I don't think at that point our grandchildren will be alive either. I feel like 115 years.
Great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren. Oh, maybe humanity will be dead by then. Who knows? The Premier League might be gone.
Yeah. I was going to say, who do you think wins? Is Man City or climate change?
Yes, Man City or climate change. I don't know.
Who has more legs?
I know, and Red Dead Redemption 3 still won't be out.
I don't think that game's ever coming out. They finished the story. It was satisfying. Just let it be finished. Done.
Let it die there.
Let them remake Revolver instead. That needs more love. But anyway,
I mean, it's mental that the Man City charges have now finally started before GTA 6 has come out.
Yeah,
it's just there's a lot of things that's happened.
Yeah. I guess talking about the law changes, did you see the case? This might be a throwback name to some. Lassana Diarra won the other day, so there's been a little bit of a rule change in terms of transfers now. So for those of you who don't know, Lassana Diarra was a really, really good player. He played for Real Madrid, played for Arsenal and Chelsea. Didn't really play that much for either of those two. Played but won the FA Cup with Portsmouth. So very reputable player. Played for Real Madrid. He ended up at Lokomotiv Moscow in Russia, and basically, I don't know what exactly the details of the case was, but he ended up getting his contract terminated, and he then wanted to move to a different club. But the rule was that he had to pay off Lokomotiv the 8 million or something of his contract that was owed.
Yeah.
And he was prevented from signing to a different club as a result of that. Because that club would then have to assume that transfer fee, essentially. So FIFA basically not FIFA, but the rules have basically been changed that can't happen anymore because it's basically an obstruction of somebody's employment. So
there's definitely something morally
wrong with that, yeah. Yeah, so it's taken a little bit of time, but good on you, Lassana Diarra. You fought the man, you won, and now there's fairer employment laws. I feel like we need unions everywhere, man.
I mean, that's that would never happen in anywhere else in the working world. It's if you're working in an office somewhere and somebody hands in their notice because they're going to another company, you can't suddenly say, you can go, but you got to pay us first. That's that'd be very strange if that happened.
Very odd. Well, how about we finish this episode with a classic case of clickmates?
Oh, we do love a bit of clickmates.
We do love a bit of clickmates, and I feel like so. What was the thing? It was at the beginning of the episode. We were talking about the international break, right?
It was.
So I just saw a Sports Bible article. Which,
of course, it's always that reputable place.
Which was titled "A Player Switches Allegiance to England and It Completely Shocks the Footballing World." And I was like,
what happened?
Who are they referring to? Because in order for it to shock the footballing world, it would have to be somebody like a Musiala, like a Haaland, who were born here or raised here and could play for England, but choose to play for England over their home countries or whatever. It's not any of those. It's Omari Hutchinson from Ipswich has decided.
Oh wow!
He's decided to play for the England under-21s after playing for Jamaica under-21s.
I'm really glad I know that now.
Yes.
I mean. Yeah, well done you. Well done, Omari. We look forward to you playing for the England under-21s.
Are you saying well done you, as in well done me for finding that story? Or?
I could have gone on the rest of my evening not knowing that, but now I do know it. It's
okay.
Yeah, I just at least those of you listening, those of you watching, at least you know that now.
At least you know that now. Omari could be a future star for England, but I feel like what the reason why I bring this up, right, is Omari Hutchinson is born in England. He's an Englishman, right? He's played for Jamaica probably because of his heritage, but ultimately he's English. Now, the comments under this Sports Bible article, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because obviously the comments are such a fun place for
we do have a comment section.
Oh mate, so one of the most prominent comment I saw, having in mind this guy is English, he is English, He was born in England. One of the most common fucking comments I kept seeing were, yeah, but even though he's born in England, doesn't mean he's actually English.
I think some people don't understand how nationality works. It's like, you see this a lot on TikTok and everything.
Yeah.
When they would say like, well, actually, the 2018 World Cup, Africa won it. No, they didn't. Because a lot of the French players were of African descent. Yeah, that's great, but they're French citizens. They're French nationals. It is a little bit different in that case because a lot of them were born in Africa and then chose to play for France. But they also are French citizens.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the
difference. They are French citizenship.
But in this,
once you have a citizenship, that's your nationality. But that's very different to when you're born there.
This is what I'm trying to say. When he's actually born here, and people are like, no, but just because he's born in England doesn't mean he's English. He's,
and these are the same people who will say, like, oh, we don't like it when these foreigners come over because they don't assimilate. They don't try and become British. Try. You say they're not.
We're trying to play for the goddamn national team, and you're having an issue with it. Like, you can't win, can you?
Yeah, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, literally. Being Amari Hutchinson, I mean, bless the guy. Like, I hope he goes on to be a full-fledged England international.
But the thing is, though, that sadly enough, that comes as no surprise that those types of comments happen.
No.
It's just it's people who decide to create fake accounts just so they can exploit their racism. That's what it is.
These guys,
they love doing it.
These guys are full on. They'll have their normal profile, dude. Like it's on Facebook, so they're actual people with like, actual profile pictures, and it's them and their kids, and you're like, how are you commenting this kind of stuff without fear of repercussion from your employer? Like, do you not think before you do this shit?
It's mental when you see the ballsiness. Oh, they might be just unemployed. I don't know.
They could just be thick. They could just be. Well, they are thick. We know they're thick, but
they're thick. Yeah, because if you've got someone employed and then you see them commenting on Facebook posts saying, "Yeah, you'll never be English because you're not my colour."
Yeah,
then you're like, why have I got this person working for me?
Yikes! Yeah, you would just be like, nah, I'm good. See you later.
Yeah, and it's like, Mario Hutchinson, he'll never be English. Now, he's not English like us. All right, let's go out to the Balti house now. It's just so, I don't know. To be fair, some of those people who make those comments, a chicken korma is spicy for them. So, I don't lose any sleep over them.
Okay, so this is one final, less sort of negative connotation laced piece of clickbait that we can finish on, because I feel like finishing on racism is always a little bit of like a downer for everybody.
It's not really what you look for.
No, especially in the casual football friends. Although people can probably tell we're anti-racism, considering
I hope so.
Considering they have footage, but okay. This next clickbait, the final piece of clickbait, is from an account on Facebook. So it's good, called Sweech97, and Sweech is spelt Sweech. So a word. That's not a word, but apparently it's a word. And 97, so the year that Sweech was invented. And
of course,
I don't know if this is a real quote, but if it is, I wouldn't be surprised. But this quote says, from Joey Barton.
Okay.
Messi's legacy has a massive asterisk, and it's time people faced it. This guy got pumped with steroids and human growth hormone at a young age to manipulate his growth. Messi? Genetically modified from day one. If it wasn't for the boost, he'd be an average player. Facts. And then the guy put as a comment underneath it, as in like Sweech put, someone finally dared to say it. And if anyone defending this needs to research the effects of HGH, look at Messi today and tell me you don't see the results all over him. Just a normal.
There's so many things wrong with that. It is actually insane.
Okay, and the best bit. Sorry, Darren, but just to finish it, the best bit is this bottom paragraph, which, as you can see, is in all caps. So it's meant to be shouting, and it's Messi is a fraud. His entire career is tainted. Him and his fans can cry about it. So this guy is very clearly a Ronaldo fanboy, but also a nutter. I feel like just as we got to the good bit there, you froze.
Yeah,
oh no. Oh no, we have Taron stuck in the dead zone, where he is stuck smiling endlessly like a goof. Oh hey,
you don't look at his face.
Oh, are you back? Are you back now?
No, I get you, but your picture's still look at your face.
Okay, well, in my defense, the recording is on my side, so that means that people are only going to see how blurry you are, which is good. So it makes me look like it makes me look like a normal guy, and you look like you're the one with bad internet. So it's all good. It's all good. This is a fun way to end the podcast. Good old Frozen Taron. 2 Taron, 2 Frozen. And he's gone.
Hello.
Hi. Did you have a nice? I'm assuming you had to like run and go to the toilet or something.
No.
And that's why you froze. you purposely unplugged your internet because you're like, I really need to go for a piss.
I want to say that Joey Barton thing, and then we got cut out.
I know. I felt like that would have been a really good segment, and then we got completely derailed by that. So I say we just carry on because that was fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's address the Joey Barton in the room. If it's real, I don't know if it's real. I might look it up because
part of me hopes it is a real article because I hope it is real that Joey Barton said that because Joey Barton was never really a footballer to look up to.
No,
and
we've talked about it before.
There's so many things wrong with that statement.
Yeah,
what said there.
Joey Barton, Messi. You carry on. Sorry, I'm just googling it. Joey.
No, the thing is that there is an element of truth that Messi did have medication at a young age, but that's because he had a growth defect.
He tweeted
which was
He actually tweeted it. Yeah, it's in the Daily Mail. You know, obviously a reputable source here. It's in the Daily Mail. It's on. God. I can find the tweet on X. So he actually said that.
God.
Yeah, he actually.
Oh God, Joey Barton, you absolute fraud! It's just like the thing is, Messi did have those like growth hormones, everything, but that's because when he was younger, he had a growth defect.
Yeah.
So if he didn't have those growth hormones, he would not have grown to the height he is today.
Yeah.
So that's why it's very similar to like that guy Hezbollah and those people, not Hezbollah, weird one. Is that little MMA fighter? It's like, it's just, so Messi basically. I just said Hezbollah in there, but he just. So the truth is, Messi had a growth defect from a very young age, where he wouldn't have grown to an average height, and he's still not average. Like he's still relatively
he's
short.
Still a short guy, yeah. He's still like 5'5", 5'6".
Yeah, so he had to have growth hormones from a young age, and I suppose there was some type of steroid put there just so he could grow.
Yeah. Just
so he could grow, and then he grew, and that's why he had that treatment. It has nothing to do with his football skills.
Also,
nothing to do with it.
Let's just like point out here, right? So people, when they take HGH and they take steroids, it's so that they can pack on muscle and grow bigger. Yeah. Messi didn't do that. Yeah. Messi stayed small. He stayed small.
Yeah, he's still small. He's not like Eddie Hall walking around, is he? He's just like he's still quite a skinny dude. Yeah, he's pretty ripped, but he's still a short, skinny dude.
Yeah.
But his skill level, that has nothing to do with those growth hormones he was taking at a young age. That was just down to his natural ability. That's what that was down to.
He's small, but he's diminutive. But his low center of gravity makes him very hard to knock the ball off, and he's just that good. He's probably the best player of all time. So the idea that it was the steroids which are the reason why he's good with his feet, that doesn't check out. Like, it doesn't check out at all, does it? If you said Ronaldo, on the other hand, had HGH at some point, you'd be like, oh, okay, because he's actually, like, he's relies so much more on his athleticism being big and, fucking, like, scoring the number of headers he has, and obviously being the pure and utter athlete he is. But Messi...
Yeah, there'd be more an argument in that one. Yeah, but this one, Joe Barton's got that completely wrong.
Wrong end of the stick. And the idea, like, the idea that, like, he literally took it because he wasn't growing, like, as a child. So, what Joey Barton is basically saying is like, if that kind of thing was afflicting one of his kids, he'd either be like, you are never allowed to fulfill your dreams because you'd be a fraud, or you have to stay... I don't want to say freakishly small because that's kind of disrespectful, but like you'd have to stay way shorter than you probably end up wanting to be, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. And it's just because Messi's parents had to fork out a lot of money to actually get him to have that medication so he could grow.
Again, that's what it was. Not because they wanted to make him the greatest footballer in the world. They just wanted him to be a happy...
I don't think Messi's parents at the time gave a shit whether he played football or not. They just wanted him to grow like a normal person. And he just... And that's why it's just like Joey Barton just completely missed the mark on that. And the fact he tweeted that out, and it shows somebody who's very misinformed.
Yeah.
But they've got a platform where they'll say things. But the problem is with people like that, when they say those types of things, they have people who follow them who are also misinformed, but then they listen to this misinformed person and then they're like, oh, well, this is definitely verbatim. What happened? Oh, yeah, this is definitely it.
Like our dear Squeezy97, like these idiots believe him and go, oh, yeah, no, they jump on the train, they jump on the bandwagon, and they're like, this is this stupid, controversial, rage-baity take, and I feel a weird passion towards it, either because I already have an inherent bias against Messi, or I haven't, it's confirmation bias in a way. It's this person has an agenda against this other person. I also don't like that person. So even though the science doesn't check out, anything they say doesn't check out, I'm going to jump on the bandwagon because we're attacking this guy, and I just think that is despicable. Like, I think Joey Barton's pretty despicable anyway, but the idea that he's rallying people for his causes is also just sickening. And yeah, I don't know, man. Like, that's the only way people like him can stay relevant. That's the thing that I think I take away from this is people like him attack people in like Messi and Neymar and Thiago Silva. They attack people who are much better than them because it's the only way they can stay relevant. Well,
the thing is, Joey Barton, we saw him as a footballer. He was never great, and he's one of those. Like, I always say, when you've achieved something, you'll always be attacked by those who achieve nothing. And Joey Barton is the epitome of that. He's going to attack Messi. He'll attack Ronaldo. He'll attack Neymar. He'll attack all of them because they've achieved stuff that he could only dream of.
He was extremely disrespectful to Thiago Silva. I don't even remember, but his comments were fucking horrendous. And if he said that nowadays, people would be like, "Yeah, no thanks." I just think people like that just at some point.
And the thing is that he could say all that. Messi probably doesn't even know who he is.
Yeah. No chance. Yeah.
Messi, if they say oh, did you hear what Joey Barton said about you? Messi would be like, who?
Yeah, exactly. Who's that? Is he related to Steven Gerrard? Who gives a shit?
Yeah. Now, if Steven Gerrard said it, then Messi might have a problem.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is. Joey Barton's just one of those. He's a hater because he's never achieved anything.
It's never the good ones, is it? It's never the good ones that come out with the controversial takes and the ones that you're like... It's never the ones where you're like, oh, actually, this person has the pedigree to say something like that. And then I'll actually have a little bit of belief in what they're saying. It's always the ones where you're like... Who cares what you have to say? It basically links into what we're talking about with the TalkSport issue. Is they always get on the people who you're like, I don't give a shit what Jamie O'Hara has to say. In the same way, I don't give a shit what Gabby Agbonlahor has to say. With Joe Barton as well. I think Joe Barton to a much lesser degree though, because he has proven himself to be such a despicable human being. on a number of occasions. And as we called him out last time, he's had umpteen second chances in life that I think wouldn't be afforded to your average person. And I just don't have any fucking time for that guy.
He's had so many opportunities and he's just squandered them all.
Yeah.
So it's like, you could be angry at all these footballers who've done well, but you only have to be angry at yourself.
Yeah.
He's the one who fucked his own career up.
There's a reason why he's not revered. Is because he was quite an average footballer, but he's famous for being a despicable human being. He's what you would refer to as being infamous, where the only reason people know about him is because of the bad things they've done. And
it's like, it's not like, say, like, if I use an example, like, let's say Gaza, for example. Gaza, towards the end, he got known for, like, his party lifestyle. Yeah, he did do too many drugs and everything. He did get known for that. But then people think, but back in the day, he was a great player.
And also,
Paul Gascoigne was amazing in his day. So that's why, like, you can kind of separate. You can kind of say, like, okay, he did these bad things, but yet he was great. Joey Barton, he said a lot of shit and did a lot of bad stuff, but then you think back, but he was a shit footballer anyway.
Yeah,
I never look back at Joey Barton and say, oh, he was great in that game.
It's what they say, isn't it? It's like you gotta have, if you're gonna talk the talk, you gotta walk the walk, and like you gotta be able to cash in the checks that your mouth writes when it comes to this kind of stuff. And this guy just doesn't have the pedigree to do that.
And that's why he shows his bitterness as a human being. It's like, you'd see, like, for example, Ronaldo and Messi have always had this rivalry with each other.
Yeah.
But Ronaldo won't say that stuff about Messi because Ronaldo would think, well, I've achieved a lot. He's achieved stuff. So why does he need to put down the other guy? He doesn't need to.
It's
like Zidane, for example, he won't say that type of stuff because he's achieved stuff. Same with Thierry Henry, same with like even David Beckham. They won't say these type of things because they've achieved stuff themselves. Yeah, they'll probably like look at Messi, and go, oh yeah, well done. But I've got my own Champions League medal to worry about, to polish off. I got my own Premier League medal to polish off. So that's fine. But someone like Joey Barton, and I mean, what has Joey Barton actually won in football?
I don't know. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. He wasn't.
Let's see what he's actually.
We should definitely wrap up the episode sooner or later. But as far as I know, he hasn't won anything because he was at Man City when they were bad, and then he went to Newcastle when they were bad, and then he went, and then I know he was on loan at Marseille at one point. And the most famous thing he did at Marseille was he had a fight with Thiago Silva, which is where he made those comments, which I think were pretty fucking despicable. You notice I'm using the word despicable a lot when we're talking about Joey Barton. I wonder why.
He won the championship with Newcastle.
Right, well done.
The 2009-10 season.
Good for him. Many players have won the championship as Leicester fans will attest.
He won the Football League Championship playoffs with QPR.
Cool.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Really, he's essentially, in terms of football terms, he's irrelevant.
He's a bit of an.
But he has to make himself relevant.
Yeah, he was only famous because of his big mouth, and that is. Yeah, it's so typical. He kind of is like the blueprint for what we have nowadays, which is like your average alt-right dickhead online, isn't he? Like, he's just
it's just the bitter Brexit voter. That's what he is.
Yeah,
he's just one of those
alt-right dickheads who their entire personality is hating stuff and just saying controversial stuff for the sake of clicks. And I think. Yeah, he was kind of like that before it became like a YouTube personality, rather than he kept it exclusive to just being a footballer who would say stuff like that. So. Anyway, we've given
a lot of time to Joey Barton here.
Even though I specifically said let's move on to this clickbait because it's less depressing than the last one. This one also ended depressing. I think it's us.
No, we made it depressing.
Yeah, I think it's us. I think we're the problem here.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, even the last episode did this as well. I guess we've got to find we've got to figure out a palate cleanser ending to these episodes so we're no longer ending on clickmates.
Yeah.
Because clickmates is too.
We'll figure it out.
I was going to say clickmates is too trepidatious. Like we might end up on a bad one or a really funny one. Whereas if we do say like, I don't know, we'll work it out. But what I'm trying to say is it's not going to be depressing forever. Please, have patience with us.
Yeah, we're still finding our feet, like Leicester. We're still finding our feet.
Exactly. We're the Steve Cooper of podcasts, I like to think. Do you know what though?
There you go. Yeah.
Not to go on more of a rant here, but these kind of conversations are exactly why we're not going to ever be the ones who get invited on like the Sky Sports shows, because they're going to be like, so Zane or Taryn, what do you think about Leicester's chances? And we just go on a rant about Joey Barton, and now he's an alt-right dickhead.
We're talking about Joey Barton. We're hanging about Joey Barton all the time.
People are going to be like, wow, that was. Thanks for that insight. So what do you think about Leicester? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen and everybody in between, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It has been an absolute pleasure. It's been a really long one, but...
I know, there was a lot to unpack. But next week's episode will be very, very short.
Yes, exactly. In fact, I think the one after next week... So not next week, but the one after next week might not be an episode, or we might have to do one in advance because I'm on holiday between the 21st and the 25th. So that week...
So we'll have to predict results.
I don't know about predicting results. We could just do like a special rather than like a results.
A special?
Yeah, it's not like a results-based episode. We do a special one. But anyway...
Okay.
I've been Zane.
I've been Taryn.
And we've been the Casual Football Friends. And thank you so much for joining. Fuck Joey Barton, and see you later.
Bye-bye.